everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Financially Free Physician Podcast. I am your honored host, Sim Terwilliger, and today I am joined by Miss Meagan McGuire.
Hello. Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
absolutely. I am so excited about this topic. We're going to be talking about 10 resolutions for 2025, and they might not be what you think.
Yeah,
Megan,
and
before
we
we
love
go off,
lists.
we do have a list. I checked it twice. You can laugh at my corny jokes. Before we go through this list, though, Megan, I would love to hear, do you have any resolutions for 2025?
I have some fitness resolution. Well, kind of. I think it's more of a continuation of what I've started since the summer of this year. I've been getting into running, and so my run time has gotten a lot better. I've been trying to do a certain number of um, minutes or I guess hours per week in miles. I kind of go back and forth between the two depending on how I'm feeling. So it's either like a max mile per week or max minute per week for how much I'm running. But I want to continue the trend there, maybe just have it a little more organized in 2025. And what else? I think that's the big one. I have some financial goals as well, some savings goals, but I think the fitness one is the one I'm most excited about for sure.
Well, that's a
What
good one.
about
It's a
you?
common one too. I feel like that's for a lot of people in some way,
Hmm
whether it's like lose weight, move more, etc.
Yeah, get your steps up. Like I think that's my watch. I'm gonna switch all of my tracking to more so steps. I want to get above like I think 10,000 is the ideal step amount. We work from home, right? You do too,
Yes.
Sim. And so we don't get a lot of steps during the day unless we intentionally go for walks or take breaks during between meetings and things. So I need to increase my steps for sure. I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you what my average is for the day now, but next year I'm hoping my average will be closer to 10,000. So,
That's great. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
What
um,
about you?
my resolutions. I have so many. It's like embarrassing, and I almost feel like I'm setting myself up for failure, but I have like basic ones like drink more water, drink less coffee. And one of my best friends, I told her this, and she's like, "Well, Sim, coffee has water." And I'm like, you know what? That's the energy I need in my life. I love having friends like that. But no, I need to drink like more actual water. I have my Stanley cup. I need to like actually use it. And I
Hmm
have fitness goals. I have professional goals. Most people know I'm working on my EA, right? Enrolled agent, getting
hmm
into the tax weeds, which is super interesting. It's a little bit of like a Tetris puzzle. So that
hmm
is on deck for 2025.
Nice. All right. And today, I think you must have brought me on for today because you know I love lists and I know physicians like checklists from what I know about physicians. So we have a nice checklist to go through of 10, resolutions for 2025. And like you said, I think there's some in here that are maybe a little abnormal, but very cool. So do you want to kick things off?
I'm going to let you go first, actually.
Me? Okay, I'll
Yes,
take it away. I'll
please
take it
do.
away. So number one. Of course, we're going to be talking about financial resolutions as well. This is a financial planning related podcast. So, number one, I will create space for joy in my budget. Lifestyle creep isn't bad necessarily because it means that we are, well, hang on. Sorry, let's back that up. Hang on. I also need to clear my.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm, I'm losing my voice. Okay, I'm going to start from where I said I will create space for joy in my budget. I'll pick up from there. Okay. So we all know about a little thing called lifestyle creep, right? And it does happen sometimes, interestingly, for physicians because you go for so long in training with a lower income than you're going to have for the rest of your career. But it's also like the first time you have real income since you've been in school for so long. So you start out with like, some residency pay, so somewhere between like 60 to 80,000 or fellowship pay. So not what you'll be making as an attending, right? But you'll quickly kind of grow into that income, which that income for the most part can pay comfortably for like housing, food, groceries, like some hobbies and things. But nothing too crazy. We're not able to save maybe as much as we can when we get into attending. But then we've got attending pay that kicks in later on. And it is quick to catch up to people as far as like how fast you can kind of grow into that income. So that's lifestyle creep is just, growing really fast into the income that you have coming in, and starting to spend it all versus maybe doing something more productive with it. But there are intentional upgrades and there are things that we should be, able to spend money on or investing in ourselves more once we have more income coming in. And, you're worth it. You've spent a lot of time with your career, or getting yourself to this point in your career and your education. So some lifestyle creep is absolutely appropriate. So back to the point, creating space for joy in your budget. This can be a really helpful thing, I think, for mental health in 2025, helping you just enjoy life a little more. I have a few clients where I have to put in a treat yourself budget, a line item in their budget to where, we put it in and we say, okay, you have to spend this month on something fun for yourself, whatever that is, if that's a
Absolutely.
massage or, yeah.
Something I like to say a lot around here. I got it from Angie from our physician team, but you have worked too hard to get to where you are to live on rice and beans and to live like a resident. Like, why do that to yourself? Like, okay, be intentional and all, but I love lifestyle creep for my physicians as long as we're intentional. Maybe the bad part of the phrase is the creep because it sounds like it's something that's like sneaking up
Yeah.
on you, but maybe we want to call it like lifestyle adjustment. But I love that.
Yes.
I'm all about it.
Well, and I think it's great too, like if you start planning early, like in residency, I love to create like proposed cash flows where we model like that attending income starting to come in and we start throwing savings towards like productive stuff that we have goals for. But then we know like, okay, well, we're still going to be able to creep up in lifestyle because we still have more that we could be spending that's still within our healthy parameters. So yeah, lifestyle creep could be a bad thing, but in this instance, we're talking about it being a good thing as long as it's planned appropriately for, and treating yourself is not a bad thing.
That's the takeaway. Treat yourself. If anyone's seen Parks and Rec. All right. Well, number two on our list, I will define what enough looks like. So, with a lot of those physician blogospheres, the big topic is fire, right? When am I going to be financially independent and retire early? And so there's just like this grind mentality almost for some folks where they have to like save, save, save. They're saving aggressively. They're getting burnt out. What does it look like though for you as an individual to feel like you have enough now? Or for some folks who maybe are at that point where they are financially independent, they've done the savings, maybe they had a great salary, whatever, they've gotten to that point and they feel like they have to still keep going, but they may be able to cut back if they want to. Like, what are you saving for? What is the goal? It's not just to have a big nest egg, to have a big nest egg, because you can't take it with you, when you go at the end, when we're called to go, when it's our time. So what are you saving for and how much do you really need? What is enough?
hmm I love that. Like smart contentment. Not settling for something that you're not happy with, but contentment is so powerful because we do live in a world where like we're advertised to all the time and it feels like we're never enough sometimes. Like marketing sometimes can make us feel like we're never enough. But I love that practicing contentment, practicing, being happy with what enough is for you. And that's individual for
Even
everybody.
while you're like working for the next thing, like even as you're saving up for your house and you're living in maybe a house that you don't love, like how can you enjoy the house that you're in reasonably while you're waiting
hmm
for the next thing?
Yeah, I love that. And also, I like to tell folks to remember like you right now are in a position that you dreamed about being in probably a couple years ago or 10 years ago or however long it was. Like wherever you are in your journey right now, in your finances and your life and your career, at some point that was a goal for you to get to. So sometimes it's important to remember that, you're along the way. We're always going to be moving towards goals and moving towards progress, but you are right now in a place that, you dreamed about being at some point.
I
So
love
remember that.
that. Yeah. Let's talk about boundaries, Megan. You know how much I love a good boundary chat. And actually, just to like tease this a little bit, we do have two episodes coming out, one on boundaries with work and one on boundaries with family, right? Because physicians get
Mm,
hit up a lot from their families, like, hey, I need help with XYZ. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about this resolution.
yes. So this resolution for boundaries has to do with boundaries around work. It is easier said than done, I think, for everybody, right? I catch Sim on Slack at 1 a.m. sometimes, and I have to talk to her
Way
about
to
him.
out me. Secrets
Me
out.
too, though. It's hard to like close the book sometimes. And sometimes it's not possible to totally shut off work, right? For whatever reason. Maybe you're legitimately on call and you can't just ignore work because you might have to go in.
Yeah.
But how can you set boundaries to protect your mental load? When you're not on call, like, can you find ways to not think about work? Can you find ways to not check messages or to not check email? Are there some safeguards that you can put in to protect your mental load? Because, I mean, I know for me, I'm not a physician, obviously, but we work with enough physicians where, we hear a lot about just the mental load that folks come home with, and it's hard to like shut it off, but it's crucial, right? To do this, to be able to relax, recover, and focus your time and energy into your family, into your hobbies, into things that you like doing outside of work so you don't burn yourself out. So, what are some ways that, do you have some suggestions on ways that you could shut things off? I've got a couple ideas, but
Yeah, well, I'm thinking this episode's gonna air the day after Christmas, and so I know a lot of folks probably have like really boring Christmas plays they have to go to for their kids. I'm just calling it like it is. Does anyone really enjoy those Christmas plays? No, you go to watch your kid and to let them have the joy. But while you're there, can you just be there? Can you just be mentally present and
Mhm.
focus on your child's joy and how glad they are that you're sitting in that chair watching them, if you can? And there's times when you legitimately can't be at those types of events, but if you are there, can you be there?
Mhm.
And be present and not think about what your boss said or how a colleague rubbed you the wrong way. There's maybe times when you can set aside that are intentional, like, okay, I'm going to let myself think about this for 5 minutes. And that's easier said than done. I'm so guilty of just constantly being on, but wherever you
Mhm.
are, be there.
That's a good pointer. I think too, if notifications are something that can kind of pull you into that trap, like setting up a notification like silencer on your phone
Like a
or
do
on the
not
app
disturb.
specifically. Yes, yeah. And I had that on for a long time during work hours on my cell phone. So even I think you've had experiences, Sim, where you tried to call me and it just sends you straight to voicemail.
Yeah.
Travis would do that too. So, things like that can be super helpful because you don't even know if someone's calling. And you could set up provisions where, like, if there's a double call, like some kind of emergency, or you could set up specific contacts where if they call, it still comes through because it's going to be really important or necessary for you to answer. Like, there's ways that you could do that, but protecting your notifications can be really helpful. I turned off my notification bell on email because it stresses. I'm a zero inbox kind of person. I also treat my inbox like my to-do list. And so if I look at my like phone and I see that Gmail has 20 notifications, like I'm not going to be able to relax. So I have to have those notifications off where I don't see the little red, 20 notifications at the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So find ways to protect your peace visually with something like that on your phone, physically with like shutting off notifications, silencing things, and then be present in the moments that you don't have to be at work to release that mental load to make things or sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there. To be present and to be in the moment overall. What's next?
All right. Resolution number 4, I will invest in myself. This may sound kind of stupid because you're probably thinking, I already did that, Sim. I went to medical school. I took out 6 figures of debt and invested in myself. Okay, yes, you invested in your education, your career, but what about you, moving you towards self-actualization? If you guys know the hierarchy of needs, right at the top is the self-actualization. So that could be different for everybody. That can be hiring a coach, like a life coach. I feel like there's like a dime a dozen of them now, so there has to be a perfect fit for you. There's probably a coach for everybody. Taking a class for fun, not just something that is like for CE, unless you find that fun. Some people do. Some people love going to
Hmm.
conferences, and even if your hospital isn't paying for it, maybe it's worth it to you for yourself. Going to therapy, I am a big proponent of people taking care of their mental health. So doing therapy, hiring a personal trainer, etc. Whatever investing in yourself looks like, do it.
Hmm. And sometimes not being productive is productive.
Yes. Yes. We have actually another podcast coming out I did with a coach that some of you may know. And that's something that she talked about a lot was how, especially like women in medicine, feel like everything they do needs to be productive. So it's like, okay, I'm
Hmm.
taking rest, but so I can like do more later. It's like you can take rest just to take rest. It doesn't have to have a productive value.
Hmm. Yep. Well said. Number five, I will not feel guilty. It is so easy to have guilt surrounding a lot of different things, but especially money. And depending on what your money narrative is or what you grew up thinking about money, like this can really play a role in how you feel about your day to day or your month to month, or as you're closing out your, calendar year, fiscal year for money. You might be thinking, I should be spending my money on X. I should not be spending my money on Y, or beating yourself up for how much you did spend on Y. So I think it's important to get to a place of money neutral, new, how do you say that word?
Neutrality.
Okay, let me say that
Neutrality.
sentence again.
This isn't the bloopers reel.
So I think it's important to get to a place of money neutrality. Money is a tool, and it's supposed to get us to where we want to go, right? It's to get us to where we want to go in the future. But some physicians can feel guilt for, or, even on the reverse side, for spending certain amounts of money or spending on certain things. But on the reverse, some physicians can feel guilty for even earning the salary that they do. But I think it's important to embrace your success and try to remedy the guilt, or relieve the guilt, I should say, because you did work really hard to be where you are right now. You should be treating yourself to an extent, right? Like we talked about in a previous number here. And yeah, just release feeling guilty.
That's it. Not you are not guilty. I wish I had like a gavel I could like slam right now. Okay, next resolution, number six, I will take time to celebrate wins. I feel like if you're the kind of person who just like you're always on the go, like your life is really fast paced, it can be very easy to skip over your success and not celebrate your wins. So some of you may have paid off student loans or other types of consumer debt. Maybe you got a promotion you worked really hard for. You got a financial milestone, like it's your first time maxing out all of your retirement accounts. Whatever it is, you need to celebrate it. And I'm not saying every time you reach a milestone, you like take a trip to Paris unless you want to and have like the income to do so, but like just note the occasion.
Hmm. I tell folks for student loans, like, hey, send me a message like when you get the loans forgiven, if you remember. And I love it when folks do, because we can do a
Yeah.
little mini celebration in email. And that's a small thing. But even things like that, like tell the people who helped you get there, tell, your family who were kind of sympathizing with you along the way, the journey, like people will be happy for your success.
I have a way you can celebrate success as a layperson if you don't have a physician salary. Go to Chipotle and get the guac.
Right.
Pay extra for
Because
the
guac
guac.
is extra.
It is extra, but you know what? So am I. Guac is extra and so am I. That's my new catchphrase for just today. All right, Megan, take us through number
Nice.
seven.
Next resolution, I will not compare myself to my colleagues. Comparison is the thief of joy, guys.
Note that
Sometimes
down.
comparison can be helpful, sometimes it could be helpful, especially in terms of compensation, work opportunities, or just making sure in general you're being treated fairly, equally. But like maybe you've heard the phrase or the saying, if everyone else is jumping off of a cliff, should you be doing it too? Just because somebody is investing in real estate or mineral rights or cryptocurrency doesn't mean that that's right for you. So comparing yourself to other people when it comes to things that they're doing, that they're maybe saying they have success with, take a second to just make sure that you're not comparing yourself to something that's not even like right for you to be considering, or not even something that you want to consider,
It
right?
may not even be anything you care about. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, some people send their kid to private school, but what if you just happen to live in a great school district and the public schools are
Hmm.
just as good?
Yeah. Yeah. Or live in a certain neighborhood. You love the neighborhood, but maybe you're seeing on Instagram that, this other neighborhood is popping off or whatever. I think a lot of this kind of bleeds together. Like contentment is helpful here. Being happy with where you are, what is enough, but also not comparing yourself to make you feel like you're not adequate, because I'm sure you are. I'm sure that you definitely are. And I think a lot of these things we hear about or see also come from social media, which we all know social media is a highlight reel. You're only seeing the good stuff for the most part. So be grounded in what you're happy about in your life and what you see yourself working towards goal wise, and don't let the distractions get in the way.
Absolutely. So this next one is one of my favorite resolutions. Maybe this is one of my own resolutions for 2025. I don't know, but I will use my money to save time. I am busy. I have children. What can I outsource? So this is not a cure to burnout, by the way. I feel like I don't want to ever like diminish someone's feelings of like, well, they just said I can spend more money. That's going to cure my burnout. Like, no, there's also like internal factors and external factors. But use your money to save time. Can you hire a house cleaner once a month or every 2 weeks? For example, any yard work, meal prep services. I had one client who they were actually able to afford a personal chef. And I'm like, more power to you to have someone come to your house and
Mm.
cook you nutritious and delicious meals. Whatever that looks like for you and what's available, geographically to you, like what can you outsource? Maybe just pick one thing.
hmm Yeah, like make a list of the things that to you are not fun to do or take up a lot of your time or are the like stressful parts of your day. Make a list of those things and see if you can outsource them. Financially speaking, see if that could fit in the budget. But also, like if you're outsourcing certain things, maybe that means you could work an extra shift a month to, moonlight or do something fun, for compensation or even just rest. Maybe you just need that rest versus feeling like you're always go, 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 go. So very great suggestion. And
Yeah,
you're
and
encouraging your economics wise, like you're paying someone else for a service to do a service for you. We're contributing to the economics of what makes the world go around.
I love that. And I, of course, have to throw in like a financial one because like we are financial planners, but like, do you know how to do tax loss harvesting slash do you even care? Or is
Or
that
do you
something you
want
can,
to?
do you want to? Or do you want to
Yeah.
just like hire someone to do that for you? I feel like with physicians because they're so smart and all the education they've gone through, a lot of them feel like they have to know. We're like, of course I can like do this myself,
hmm
but it's not a matter of whether or not you can, right? Sometimes it's a service like anything else.
hmm Yep. Number 9, I will give without regret. So, giving can help give you a sense of meaning while doing. Hang on, I'm going to say that sentence again.
I wrote that weird,
Sorry.
sorry. Phrase it however makes sense to you.
Let's see. Let me just read this real quick. Sorry, Steve. Okay, I'm going to pick up after the I will give without regret. Philanthropy can really help you have a sense of meaning and, while you're in the rat race of the day to day. Legacy is something that a lot of people don't consider either until maybe you're older, but reflecting on life, maybe it was something, that folks might regret that they didn't do more of, like putting money towards things or putting time towards things that they really cared about, giving. And, my gosh, can you think of like the last time you gave someone something or you did something for someone and it just made them so happy? And in turn, like you were so happy, you were so like elated the experience happened. Because I feel that way when something like that comes into play in my life. And so having some of those feel good moments more often with either donating money, donating time, donating objects, materials, things like that, I think could make you feel like, hang on, can make you pull yourself out of the rat race that we all seem to be in, the productive rat race that a lot of people are trapped in sometimes. And it can be a way to build a legacy. It, again, it doesn't have to be financial. It could be donating time. It could even just be helping a family member. Like maybe your mom had a really long week at work or a really long week with health situation, some kind of health situation. How nice would it be for her to come home and have like a meal or, a bunch of meals planned out for the next week or so? Like something like that, where it's not necessarily donating a lot of, may not even be a lot of time, but definitely not a lot of money to make something easier for somebody who's going through a hard time.
Yeah,
Is
because
there anything
I
you want to
think
add to that?
yeah, like maybe we think about what does it mean to have a legacy. It's not just like, oh, my name is on a park bench necessarily. It's like,
Yeah.
what was your life and what do people remember you for?
Yeah.
The things that
Hmm.
you've done, right? It's like, okay, well, so and so really cared about like ending poverty, right? That's a way you can give, financially, or so and so like really made sure that I had like you were saying, I had a meal after a difficult situation. That could be time because you cooked, or that could also be money because you paid for a service. But those are things that are legacy too.
Hmm. Yep. And these are fun, things that you could do with your kids too if you have children. I remember doing some things like this with my mom. I was also in Girl Scouts growing up. Like I remember doing trash pickup on the side of the road on certain like not interstates, but like on certain roadways that it was just really common for there to be a lot of litter. And it felt nice. Like that's such a weird like thing. That's just the first thing that came up in my head. But, you know, doing that activity and then driving back through to go home, you're looking around like, wow, like look at that impact I had, as small as something like littering, like picking up things.
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
important though, because I feel like there's like these talking heads that make you feel like you're selfish or bad for feeling good about helping someone. Like that's really stupid because humans are
Yeah.
relational. Like we all, I know it sounds kind of foo-foo, but like we all live in this world. We all have to take care of it and take care of each other. And we should feel good when we do that, however small it may
Hmm.
be. I remember some kind of expression I heard in high school. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like you imagine that the earth is like very dirty and you're in a very small section of it. Well, clean up the
Hmm.
small section that you're in, whatever is within your ability to do. And you're helping, beautify the earth and the people
Hmm.
in it.
Last little note on this. I swear I'm not like promoting picking up litter solely, but there is a guy who he's actually 90. No, sorry, 87 years old. He's almost 90. But he's active. He walks up and down our road outside of our neighborhood, and that's what he does on weekends is he picks up trash. And someone was able to slow down and talk to him, and I think somebody else knows his daughter. But the reason he does it, one, is because he wants to give back to the community in some way. So he's picking up litter. And we don't live in a crazy dirty street, thankfully, but stuff flies out of the back of truck beds. So he picks up like the small stuff that does. But it's also like his exercise, during the week for his age. Like that's a good way to stay active and to be moving his body. And he wears this vest and everything. It's really cute.
Oh,
But our whole neighborhood like knows who this guy is and like waves to him, honks to him like when we're going by. So like he is part of our community for that small little activity that he does for himself and for the community. So it's pretty cool.
that's part of
Um,
his legacy. There's another one I just thought of
yeah.
too. We probably heard the story. There was this guy who was, he had a rare blood type. And so he was
Mhm.
donating blood that was used like to help sick children. He did this for decades.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. So there's
Yeah.
so many ways that you can give back in like small ways to you, like small efforts maybe. And if you don't have the capacity to be doing this now, that's okay too. That's okay. You might be on the receiving end of this, from someone else. So,
Yeah, you
but
don't
I think
need to
that's a really
adopt
good one.
all 10 resolutions. Maybe
Right.
pick one or
These are some
two.
ideas.
Yeah, just to get the brain juices flowing. So, number 10, last resolution, I will engage in money conversations without fear. I don't know
Mm.
about you, Megan. I was definitely raised not to talk about money. I was told that it was impolite and it just wasn't
Mm.
something that
A
people
lot of
talked
people
about.
were. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know where that narrative came from, but I feel like that's an awfully convenient narrative because if people don't talk about money, it's hard to know, like, hey, I'm not making as much as like my colleague, for example.
Hmm.
Like I'm being treated unfairly. Like that information can be used to oppress or hurt people.
Hmm.
Um, so I think part of the resolution would be to normalize healthier relationships about money. Money is not, well, physical money is dirty, but talking about money is not dirty. It is not taboo. I just thought about money. I'm like, no, money is actually very dirty when you think
Yeah,
about like a
don't put a
physical
dollar
dollar.
bill. Don't
Like,
put it in your mouth.
have you done this?
No.
Oh. I was like, Megan, are you speaking from experience?
No.
Think about what money conversations do you need to be having? Do you need to be talking with your spouse, partner more, right? Are you guys on the same page about
Hmm.
cash flow? Do you feel awkward talking about it? Like
Hmm.
what do you need to do? Maybe set up a weekly or a monthly, or I used to have this with my husband. We called it like a state of the union, like once a year. It didn't go anywhere because he doesn't care about money. He's like, whatever you say. But just
Hmm.
establishing the habit that is okay to talk about this. Or Uh, sorry, Steve, let me back up a second. One guy I like to talk about a lot around here is Dr. John Gottman. He is like the OG of his brand of marital counseling. You may have heard of his book, The Seven Principles of Marriage. I recommend it to everybody, regardless of like what the health of your marriage is, whether it's like going really well or you guys are thinking about divorce. I think it's a really great read. One of the principles that he talks about is creating shared meaning with you and your spouse. And
Mhm.
that's not necessarily a financial thing, but think about like, are you and your spouse partner, what's your goal for the future? What are you planning towards? Like, okay, we're planning for retirement. Well, what does
Mhm.
retirement with your spouse look like? What are you guys going to do
Mhm.
together? So creating shared meaning, but you have to have money conversations partially to create that shared meaning, and then having conversations with your kids too, and that has a practical component. It's not just we're going to teach them about budgeting, which by the way is very important, and please teach your kids about budgeting. Maybe you may want to like give them an allowance and teach them how much things cost, but also like setting their expectations, like, you know what, we are saving this much for college, like this is what you get, so do well in school, and
Mhm.
you're on your own for the rest. And that can teach them or get them starting to think about money too and their own financial planning in an age appropriate way. And even talking with your colleagues, this one may maybe feel the most awkward for you if you're not used to it. But you know, we've all heard that statistic that women make 72 cents on the dollar compared to their male counterparts. I don't think that medicine is an exception to that. You know, we've made a lot of strides, but I still think that that gap exists. And so I think it is really important to have those conversations if you can, if it feels safe to do so. Maybe start, you know, getting a buddy there and, oh yeah, so what was your raise like? What were you
Right.
making when you got hired here? If you can. I know it's like it's not very subtle. I don't play poker, guys.
hmm I love, I'm gonna go back to the kids real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of like, think about how you feel and think about money now. I know like most people pick up a lot of habits, a lot of like unknowingly too, a lot of feelings about money from their upbringing, one way or another. Either your parents talked to you a lot about money or they didn't talk to you at all about money, and or they had their own habits with money that have kind of bled into how you treat money. So think about that with your kiddos as well, because as they're growing up, there are really cool opportunities you could take to teach, have them have a healthy relationship with money, teach like delayed gratification, teach budgeting, like you were saying, like here's, your allowance, your $10. You said you wanted this toy that cost $12. Well, we're gonna have to wait until you complete your next chores for allowance to be able to save up and purchase that. Like we're not gonna go buy that on credit.
And you
So,
know what, Megan, you're reminding me. I actually think that there is a website to facilitate this. I am Googling right now. Steve, you can edit this part out. Yeah, so there's this website. It's called Busy Kid. And I think
mm,
and they're not a sponsor. I just remember using them in the past life with my clients. But I think the way it works is that there's like certain chores and you can assign like a dollar amount per chore.
oh
And I
yeah.
think that the child, and I think you can have like a debit card for them. And I
hmm
believe there's also a functionality where they can like request a payout or something. So it's
hmm
pretty cool. Check it out if you're looking for, you know, a tool to educate your child about money. If
hmm
you are still feeling awkward or uncomfortable, or like you don't even know where to start having these conversations, that could be where it makes sense to hire a, you know, third party, a neutral third party who has your interests in mind, a fiduciary. So that's a plug, maybe to work with a financial planner and have them sit down, you know, with you and your spouse. Maybe you can even bring your kids if you want to, depending on how old they are. But that's, yeah, that's an option for you.
hmm This is a great time to be thinking about goals, financial goals, and backing into how to make those actionable, like per month or per quarter, which is something a planner can certainly help with and do the number crunching for you, but also help with accountability to make sure that you're doing what you said you wanted to do and you're working towards those things that you said you wanted to work towards. Sometimes it just takes like that big brother or sister to, be watching your progress and making sure that you are making progress.
In some
So,
cases, it's a little brother or sister. Sometimes our clients are older than us. It happens.
yeah, exactly.
So if you are interested in working with someone from our physician team, you can check out www.slpwealth.com/book and book with someone on our physician team. And we have non-physician teams too. So if you have like a friend, they're a dentist, we have a dental team. So check us out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me today. This is, I think, a cool podcast to close out the year with, right? For 2024.
Yes, I am so excited for 2025 cautiously. I feel like we should all just kind of tiptoe quietly into 2025. No one touch anything. No more pandemics. Let's just all get along.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me and oh, let's just cut this out. I'm blabbering. You close it out.
So I'm going to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year. And as always, your net worth is not your self worth.